Mynoo's nice to see you. Mynoo's just getting us situated. Start in a few minutes.
Hello. You still on mute?
I know. Everyone, oh, it looks like we're live on Facebook. Welcome everyone on Facebook. Everyone, looks like we're live on Facebook. Welcome everyone on Facebook. Getting a little reverb there. Oh, welcome everyone this evening. It's going to be a really great night. It's one of the topics that I just love. So, I'm very excited about it. It's just, let's see. It's going to wait just a few more seconds here and we'll get started. Ah, it's so nice to see everyone. Oh. Okay. All right. I think it's time to get started. Tonight, we are on number 18 of 52 of the Human Miracle, and it's all about sleep. The 4 key destroyers of restful sleep. So Mynoo Maryel is going to share the 4 key destroyers of restful sleep, what you can do to avoid them and release yourself from the grip. So if you have suffered from insomnia and find that one of these destroyers is very active in your field, Mynoo is going to share how you can turn this around and that your situation shifts and you can slide into the yumminess of deep rest to restore your natural rhythm. So before Mynoo and I were talking about how the yumminess of deep sleep just rejuvenates us. So I cannot wait to hear what the 4 key destroyers are so that we can make sure that they're not in our field while we're sleeping. So Mynoo, thank you, welcome, and we look forward to this evening.
Thank you, Dea. I'm looking forward to it as well. It's such an important aspect of good health. Recognizing that sleep is just as important. So let's begin. And Dea, remember that you are representing like an archetype of all humans. So if there's anything that comes to you to share or any questions, just interrupt and I will take it on. And if any of you have any questions or any thoughts that are arising, just put them in the chat and we'll take it from there.
Yes.
Okay, great. Again. So this is the third in the 3-part series on sleep. Didn't realize there was so much there in the context of sleep for us to cover. So we've gone through the 4 pillars that set the foundation for restful sleep. We've also gone through the 7 pathways that facilitate deep restful sleep. And today, what we're looking at are the 4 key destroyers of restful sleep. How to avoid them, release yourself from their grip, because a lot of them are such that they can be addictive or they just simply grip and you can't let go of them. And a way in which you can overcome insomnia if that's something that you have been, disrupted by. So the first destroyer is our eating habits. Our eating habits. I thought it would be food, but it isn't. It's actually our eating habits. It includes what you eat. It includes how you eat it. It includes when you eat it. So in the context of a destroyer of sleep, I literally went into each one of them to examine them really fully in terms of what. And I also then examined what is more, which of these three, the what, how, and when, which of these three is the most important? The most important of the three actually is the when you eat. And you can ease yourself and get into a state of rest if you have eaten the right type of food and if you've eaten it the right way. That makes it a little bit easier. But when you eat is the one that has the biggest impact. So eating and sleeping straight after is not the best thing to do. That's one aspect of when. So eat and have a gap, ideally of at least 2 hours. So at least your food is whatever needed to be digested in the stomach area it has occurred, and the digestion process is well underway in your small intestine. So you're starting to feel a little less bloated or full. And then, if you were to sleep at that point, it is easier to find restful sleep. More important than that is the time when you actually eat. So do whatever you can so that ideally you would have eaten 2 hours before 8 p.m. So by 6 p.m., wherever you are in the world. That is the ideal. Why is that ideal? Because many organs start to shut off post sunset. And certainly from 8 p.m. onwards, they do start to shut off. Pancreas shuts off at 8. Shuts off in the sense that it's not expecting to be stimulated. It starts its own journey of rest. So if you eat at 8 or after 8, pancreas play a very important role in terms of digestive enzymes. It has to keep awake. And then that window is gone. Just like for us as humans, there's a time in the evening when we feel sleepy. And then after that, the window is gone. And then it's much harder to fall asleep. The same thing happens with our organs. There is a window when the organ slides into rest, because they're all early risers. And everything is geared towards the cycle of the sun. So if you think about it, all this artificial light and stuff never used to be there on this earth. We would wake up when the sun came out, do our thing, and then as the sun went out and the light started dimming, we would slide into our own little caves or clearings where we were going to just rest. Our bodies are geared up towards that. That has not changed. So this is the ideal, where you eat 2 hours before 8 p.m., wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are. Like I travel a lot, and when I'm traveling, I sync up my own clock. I actually don't change my clock. So I still, even if I'm traveling from India to the US, I stay for the longest time possible on India time. So as a result, I don't change any of my meetings that I have. They all remain on the same time. However, our bodies, our organs within it are synced to the sun. So This is the ideal, 2 hours prior. How you eat, and then we'll come to the what. How you eat, if you were to eat in a way that pre-digests the food in the mouth, so by the time it gets into your stomach, the digestive enzymes have already done their magic. And then it's so much easier for the stomach to do what the stomach does, which breaks down the food further with its acid. And, the stomach is a little bit like the drum of a front-loading washing machine. So if you have a front-loading washing machine, you put the clothes in and the drum goes like this, like this, like this. That's how the clothes are cleaned. And it makes sure that the soap and the water goes everywhere around the clothes. So every little piece of dirt can come out. The stomach does exactly the same thing. Food lands in it and it's tumbling away with acid in it. Acid is its laundry detergent equivalent, but it's applied to the food so that it breaks down anything that has not been pre-digested. And in its tumbling, so if you have chewed your food sufficiently, what activates the digestive enzymes is the way you chew it. So if you've chewed your food to such an extent that you are actually swallowing your solids, chewing your liquids in your mouth releases the digestive enzymes. So you're using your own digestive enzymes before they go into the stomach. And the stomach then mixes the digestive enzymes even more thoroughly with its tumbling and adds to it its own acid. So the food is broken down quite nicely before it is released into the small intestine. And there's a very, very delicate pathway for that release, the duodenum that connects the stomach to the small intestine. And it has a very particular type of curvature that forms how it's structured to ensure that no big dollops of food can go through it. It's amazing how a body is so meticulously and so perfectly constructed, like to self-preserve and self-protect itself. Now, when the food from the stomach goes into the small intestine uses peristalsis. And in its use of peristalsis, it has these very fine hair called villi, lining the inside wall of it that move. Just like you see seaweed in the water, they move. And in that moving, the digestion takes place, and the food is, and the nutrients that are meant to be absorbed by our body are starting to be separated from that which is going to be excreted. The absorption does not take place in the small intestine. And the food moves through the small intestine, supported by the villi, all the way to your large intestine, which is where the absorption occurs. And excretion also occurs. But the separation of nutrients that are to be absorbed and that which is to be excreted happens in the small intestine. So if you have not swallowed, or if you have not pre-digested your food in your mouth by chewing it, and remember, chewing, yeah, I mean, it's good when you have teeth and you bite into food and you chew it. But if for any reason, you've lost your teeth, then you, of course, you'll be eating food that is mushy enough to be able to work its way through the mouth, still perform the action of chewing, because it is that action that stimulates the digestive enzymes. So I often use the phrase, which I learned from somebody who who's a master in organ cleansing. And she would often say, swallow your solids, chew your liquids. So swallow your solids basically means you can't just swallow a solid. The way to swallow a solid is to chew it enough until it liquefies in your mouth. That's when you can swallow it. Now, when that happens, you've taken exactly the right quantity of digestive enzymes. Now, there is, I have had herbalists sometimes give you digestive enzymes, and a lot of them say that, when you have cooked food, it doesn't have any, it can't be digested that easily. So I remember there was a time where I would take 2 pills of this digestive enzymes before I would eat. Now, that is all fair and good. But actually, your own body creates the exact complement of digestive enzymes. And you can pop digestive enzyme pills, but if you haven't chewed it, you haven't broken it down enough. And we often do that with pieces of bread or, rice or pasta. We don't necessarily chew it until it liquefies. There are still little specks that go in. Now, when that happens, the weight of food in your stomach is quite significant. And remember, stomach is a very flexible organ. It literally is as large as your fist. It's no more than that. But it can blow up quite a bit. So when the stomach is now, let's say it's blown up because there's quite a lot of food that has gone in, a lot of little specks of food that hasn't fully been converted into liquid in your mouth has gone in. Now the stomach is tumbling like the washing machine drum. And now it requires more acid because, there isn't sufficient digestive enzymes there because you haven't chewed enough. And therefore, all that the stomach can do is to dump more acid. So it dumps more acid and it's flicking around. And that's where it starts to corrode the wall of the esophagus and the stomach. And you have acid reflux because that valve starts to become, the integrity of the valve is compromised. And you start having acid reflux.
Mynoo,
Yes.
I'm so I'm curious about this because I noticed for myself when I'm really hungry, I tend not to chew as much because I'm eating fast. So I have to really be aware of that. Like that's my biggest thing that I have to watch. I wait till I get really hungry and then I'm like ravenous. So just wanted to bring that up.
There's a trick that I learned, Deha, and I'm a work in progress. By no means I have cracked this. But the trick that I learned is when I'm ravenously hungry, I'll get a cucumber or a carrot because you can't swallow it. You just can't. You have to chew it enough, right? But a bag of crisps, you can, swallow really fast.
Yeah, right.
Right. So because we are so consciously unaware, you're ravenously hungry, putting food in your mouth that pulls you to be consciously aware. That helps. So that's just one trick, little hack, if you like.
Yeah, that's a good one. And it's healthy too, right?
Yeah. We do this. Jill has been doing it with the kids, the 2-year-old and 5-year-old. If they're desperately hungry, they only get, paprika or cucumber or, carrot, but just lightly blanched. But, that's what they eat when they're desperately hungry. Then they can go eat whatever else. So now Now the kids themselves say, oh, I want to have some chips, but let me eat something healthy first.
Wow. That's good training.
Yeah.
Early. Wow.
Yeah.
Let's see. David and Helene said, ideally, we should relax 15 minutes before eating, while we are eating, and 15 minutes after.
Yeah, I think that's also really, really important and good. And actually, when you start chewing in the way I'm saying, that relaxation starts to happen. You know, as you're eating. And when you're chewing, then there isn't much talking happening. So you become very consciously present to the food that you're eating. So one way, I mean, here's a hack that that I've learned, and I use it very effectively, which is when I'm having my lunch or dinner, I always have a plate one, which is only salads. Plate one is only salads. And so as a result, I'm relaxed into eating, and I'm chewing so much that there's a good release of digestive enzymes, not just in my mouth, but my tummy also has a nice collection of digestive enzymes. So after I've had a big plate full of salads, then I go into plate two, which could be whatever it is that I want to eat. But two things happen. One, you're rich in that digestive enzymes. You've got into the rhythm of eating. You've relaxed, like you're saying, David, already, because at that time you're not talking to anyone, even if you are with people, because the chewing basically means you can't talk and splutter food around. So you are relaxed. And then when you go into cooked food, which doesn't have the digestive enzymes, see, cooked food also doesn't have the sufficient complement of vitamins. It does have minerals. So it is good to have. It's not that you don't have it. But what happens then is you land up not having as much, and you're already in the rhythm of chewing. So that rhythm continues. So David, you're saying something else? And never allow yourselves to get upset when you're eating. Yeah. Yes, indeed. That's the second destroyer. I'm going to come to that, David. So the third piece in this eat part is what? What is it that you eat? The what is, so if you ingest any food that has gone through, that has been traumatized, with conscious awareness has been traumatized, the emotion of trauma vibrationally and energetically sits in the tissues of the food that you're about to eat. So when you eat animals that have gone through the abattoir and the regular form of butchery, there is quite a lot of trauma that is stuck. Things like pate, where the animal is traumatized even when it is alive because of the excessive fattiness that is being artificially induced into the liver. And then, of course, the whole process of, culling the animal and then having it be made available to you. You're eating the food as in the food, but what you're also ingesting is the vibrational energy that the food brings with it. So if you absolutely must eat animal-based food, then make sure that you honor it with deep prayer and blessing and gratitude for everything that that animal has contributed in its lifetime, everything that it is continuing to contribute after it has been, culled and it is there on your plate. And also prey to your own being, because you are an animal yourself. Because there are lots of associations that happen at a cellular level when you're eating this animal-based dead food, where your own cells start associating with the same cells or vibrational frequencies of what you're eating. So you bless your own being to receive the perfect nutrition that this food has to offer. And remember, friend, when it comes to nutrition, there is no have to, there is no need to. There is only whatever it is that you choose to.
Mhm.
Because you can have food, because you can have like this the people that I've heard say, I can't afford to lose any more weight. I have to eat animal food. Well, you've added this big dollop of have to. And with that have to is coming a big dollop of guilt. And then maybe you don't feel that good afterwards. And then there's a big dollop of regret. All of that just doesn't serve the digestion process.
Mynoo, like, so you're
Yes.
saying, I was just saying, so you're choosing to eat it. So if you choose to eat it, bless it, enjoy it, have the good frame of mind while you're eating it. And then that's like, then it's going to sit with your system, right? And you'll be all right.
Yeah. I mean, your system then doesn't feel that you've taken something that is harmful to it.
Right.
Now, why am I talking about eating in this session on sleep? Because if your system feels it is threatened, you will not have a restful sleep because it's out to protect you. And okay, you weren't vigilant then, we'll make sure you remain vigilant.
Mhm.
So you won't be able to rest. That's what happens. That's why we're talking about eating. It's one of the 4 destroyers of sleep. And it's not just what you eat. That's the last thing. I think the other aspect around meat is it's a little bit difficult to have it turn into liquid in your mouth unless you prepare it in a certain way. So there are many, many, many cultures where they pound the meat. They don't necessarily mince it, but they certainly pound it. It's marinated over a period of time. All of those things support you to eat it in such a way that you're able to chew it enough until it becomes liquid in your mouth.
Very good. Thanks.
So that's where the what comes in, and part of the what. So remember, what is the actual food itself and the vibrational energy in that food. Now, I'm very aware of living in Bali for 9 years and having the most amazing looking fruits and vegetables that would be there. But also very, very present to seeing farmers, men and women, particularly women with little babies, held on their back or on their front, spraying pesticides on their farms. And the water, there's one water supply that supplies the irrigation across Bali. And they have this amazing irrigation system that comes from the Kintamani Lake. So it's passing through fields and fields and fields. And if you see any photographs of Bali, they always have terraces in which rice is grown. So the water is going through these terraces. So even if you have an organic farm, the water is carrying with it whatever poisons or pesticides that might have been put in a farm, 10 kilometers away from where you are, or even further away. So you can't guarantee that what you're eating is necessarily organic. The other aspect when it comes to the what is the seed from which the food has come. So the seed itself may have come from food that is not organic, or that may have been inadvertently become non-organic. Now, to actually find heirloom seeds that are organic, that you're able to grow in a place which does not have any inorganic stuff or pesticides, is particularly challenging these days. Because air quality, certainly when I live in India, is very poor. So if you're not getting inorganic stuff through the soil, you're getting it through the air. So this whole idea of, I mean, that's equally dangerous as eating a piece of meat where the animal is carrying its trauma. This thing actually traumatizes your cells as you ingest it. So, we just have the practicality of all of this stuff going on, which is why how you eat it, when you eat, getting the digestive enzymes very thoroughly activated, all of that becomes very important. And most importantly, make sure that when you do eat food, you transform the vibrational quality of it, because every morsel you eat, you're eating the food, the physical, and the vibrational, which is the spiritual nature of that food. So make sure not only do you bless it, you also pray. And you bless the food and pray to your being, to yourself, to your cells. Really pray to them, to every being in you. Because if it was only up to you, you would not be able to digest anything. You have a whole collection of trillions of microbiome in you. And it is you, along with that microbiome, that actually enables the full digestion process to take place. So when you pray, so my prayer over my food is, I thank every being that has come together to make this food available to me on my plate. And I pray to every being in me and the being of me to receive the full nutrition and nourishment this food has to offer. And I allow myself to simply be in that state, experiencing that beautiful prayer blessing exchange. It only takes a few seconds, and then I begin my food. Now, when you eat your food like this, where you've got plate one, which is salads, and then plate two, and you're eating it in this sequence, and there is a particular timing when you're eating it, your system is exercised enough, rested enough, plugged into your presence, that after about 2 hours of your digestive system, when it is in its like heavy duty activity, after about 2 hours, you're ready to have a deep, restful sleep. Why 2 hours? Because that first 2 hours is where the digestive system, it's as if it's in its, the warm-up takes place with your chewing and everything, and then it's into full-blown running on that treadmill. That's what is going on with the digestive system. And after about 2 hours, it's winding down again, because it's getting ready for excretion and absorption to start happening. And that takes another 2 hours. And sometimes it takes longer than that. So that's the first destroyer, how you eat, when you eat, what you eat. And you can completely turn it around to support you. The second one, the second destroyer are your thoughts. And thoughts include stuff that is unsaid. It includes emotions that may be expressing through thoughts. And here also we have the what, how, who, and when. So, the kind of thoughts is really the what part. And again, I like to begin with the when, the last part. When, who, how, what. So a lot of my work occurs through my thinking. A lot of that occurs through my thinking. Now, when I'm planning, or when I'm in the midst of a particular project and I'm looking at how this is going to be rolled out, or if I'm actually taking stock of how the day went, or any particular problems that might have occurred, I do it before I actually lie down. So when I lie down, I am actually running through, taking stock in the context of what can I be grateful for. I don't think about what went well, what didn't go well after I've laid down. I do all of the taking stock sitting up, last thing at night. But I do chronicling gratitude and appreciation when I'm lying down. So when I slide into rest and restful sleep, I'm sliding into that completely present to unconditional acceptance with gratitude and grace. There isn't any planning going on in my head. There isn't anything unfinished that's rattling in my thoughts. And sometimes the who part, sometimes, you're engaged in a dialogue with someone else. And, you're sharing your bed with a lover, or with your partner, or with a friend, or you're sharing your bedroom with someone who's a roommate for that period of time. It's really useful to find a way in which, when you do lie down, you allow each other to be present to themselves, as opposed to be engaged in any heated dialogue. If there's any heated dialogue that is choosing to be conversed, then sit up and have that dialogue. Declare that dialoguing is complete, and then slide into rest. Extremely important. Who you're exchanging your thoughts with. Sometimes the person is not even there. And if, let's say, we do the lay of the land of what happened that day and what went well, what didn't go well, all the who's that were involved in whatever occurred that day are very present energetically. So you may not be sharing your bed or your room with anyone, but who you're sharing your thoughts with also has an impact on the restfulness of your sleep. And remember, by now, this is the third in the 3-part series on sleep. By now you already know that get rested first. And that's the key to having a restful sleep. So with the who's, process the different whoever is there in your thoughts before you lie down. And when you lie down, if you just simply focus, so here's what I do. I just know that when I'm actually finally lying down, I'm only going to be appreciating or being grateful for whatever has occurred, whatever has been, or whatever I'm present to. Those are the only thoughts that I keep in my head when I lie down. Until I'm ready to do that, I don't lie down. I usually meditate. I usually do something very specific that I do for stress release, sitting it up. And that's a really good, easy practice. I'm only going to lie down once I know that the only thoughts that I'm ready to have now are one of gratitude. and appreciation.
I love that, Mynoo. I
Yeah.
love this. It's quieting your mind, getting, you need to think about those things before you lie down. And then when you lie down, it's just peaceful, it's nice. I like that. I do that.
Yeah.
I do that too.
And the other thing, since you mentioned peaceful, remember, peace is a consequence. It's a consequence of being in gratitude. So, where do I find? Don't engage in any dialogues around peace. It'll take you away from peace.
Yeah.
Just
So
leave it.
just
Yeah.
the gratitude and the appreciation and feeling all that in your body
Yeah.
lends itself to that peaceful inner feeling of coziness is
Correct.
what I used to say. Yeah. So
Correct.
beautiful.
The how part is another one. The how part is in this how I go into, if you're holding unsaid communications, things have occurred in the day, things have occurred in our life where we've held back and not communicated. You're filling yourself up with a whole collection of unfulfilled expectations. One unsaid communication results in 100 unfulfilled expectations. And the more full you are of unfulfilled expectations, the harder it is to release any thoughts of remorse or regret. The harder it is to become, get into a state of gratitude unequivocally, the harder it is to become thoughtless. I have my own process where I do go into a state of thoughtlessness before I actually lie down. But, that's not practical for people. I've had at least 9 years of being able to just work through this stuff. People don't have that. So even if you can simply get into a point where the only thoughts that I'm now ready to have are one of gratitude, that will help you. What kind of thoughts? There's actually, I could do a whole series simply on thoughts. Because remember, thoughts are generated by a mind brain. A thought is a thought. It actually isn't necessarily real. It's not real. It's not a fact. It's just a thought. The thoughts are generated from the mind brain. The mind brain's role is spatial awareness to keep you surviving. It's about survival. And the thoughts is what connects the survival to past and future. And what can exist in the future, because future is not real, what can exist in the future is only a projection of the past. So your thoughts as a result become one of protection, conflict, a whole collection of stuff. Why do you feel regret about something? Why do you feel upset about certain things? I factually, like, even if when I did this analysis for myself, okay, I went through a domestic violence for over 10 years in my relationship. Why would I get really upset with my husband beating me up? Well, the beating was an action, a fact. It hit me and it hurt. Okay. But it was the emotional hurt that was much bigger, much deeper. And that emotional hurt and the depth and heaviness of it was generated by the generosity of my thoughts around it. You see what I'm saying? This is a very important piece to get. So as you're starting to wind down in the context of sleep, and you have a whole collection of thoughts, start sifting fact from meaning. Return to fact, return to fact, return to fact. Returning to fact, your mind acknowledges, okay, yeah, this is a fact. it doesn't go ballistic in generating a whole variety of thoughts. And you are rested well before you go to sleep.
David says it really well. Come to terms as much as possible with things that are pressing on your mind before you go to sleep. So yeah, I guess you do your best when you have, and Asha said when there's unsaid communications and they remain for a long time, what do you do with that? You know?
Well, you actually, it's a very good question. You actually communicate. Now you communicate with the person about whom or with whom you have unsaid communication. And sometimes that's not practical. The person may be no more, they may be somewhere else, or they may just not want to have anything to do with you. That's possible. In which case, you communicate with their vibrational presence, their higher self, I call it. And you do that in a meditative way. What you can also do is you can write
A little bit of a frozen screen
and you
here.
people don't know how to meditate and have higher self can fully. Uh, is it better?
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm saying that when you have something like this, you could even write down your unsaid communication. Whether you give it to the person or not, you write it down, energetically communicating as you're writing to this person's higher self. Write it down fully until it does not feel unsaid to you. At that point, you can burn this piece of paper. So you've now destroyed this unsaid communication in you. And you've transmutated a powerful sense of reconnection within yourself. Add water to the pan in which you burnt it. So you wash away any debris that might be left behind of this unsaid communication. And you're bringing flow. And then you pour this mixture of ash and water into the soil. So you're anchoring this new state of flow. So that's one way of dealing with, unsaid communication over many, many years.
Huh.
You will feel it in your body. Unsaid communication is felt in the body.
For sure.
And it's felt in the body in the form of discomfort. So let's go to the third pillar. I'm also quite aware of the time. The third destroyer. So before I go there, so the second one, thoughts. Once you understand that thoughts are mind generated, they are about survival, and they are about the past or its projection into the future. And it's these collection of thoughts that give you your beliefs, and it is your beliefs that give you your experience of your world. So when you have tumultuous thoughts or conflict thoughts or thoughts of anguish and fear, then what those thoughts are associated with become your beliefs, and they give you your experience of the world. So instead, you can choose to shift your beliefs by simply changing what you think and thinking it a lot until you have a new belief. In the context of sleep, really acknowledging, like David shared, come to terms in a powerful, empowered way would be to acknowledge, as opposed to sometimes come to terms can also have a remnant of regret or compromise, which doesn't feel that good in the body. Unconditional acceptance simply by using acknowledgement for all that you feel fully empowers you to step forward, standing tall and in grace. The third destroyer is to do with light. Remember, our sleep cycles were synchronized with sunlight, with light. You wake up and then you get on with your day and you wind down when the sun is gone. And here's how the body was designed. So your organs awaken even before the sun comes out. Different organs have different wake times. When the sun comes out, then your eyes open, and that's where the whole synchronized awakening of you takes place. Now, what we do is we keep the light going artificially for so much longer, even after the sun has gone down, that our wind down doesn't begin until much later. And so quite often we may be in a place where we are sleeping, but the lights in the bathrooms are, we need to use the bathroom at night, and we switch on the light, and then suddenly there's a big jolt to your cells. Kidneys particularly get a very big jolt when you have very bright light at night, because they're very alert. It's a delicate organ that's very alert. Wakes up and sleeps very fast and sleeps very fast as well. And it is this light that gives you your lightness of being. So as you wind down for a restful sleep, bringing down the light, bringing down the light, bringing down the light, until all you have is a book light if you're interested in reading a book, and nothing else, and the book light is on the book. This stuff, the phone stuff, is very bright light. It is not conducive to winding down. So many of us watch television, or now it's OTTs, which is Netflix and others. As we wind down, it's very bright light that is going through your eyes. Listening to music, audiobook, or something like that is so much easier. So you have to decide, because our bodies are still synchronized with light. Artificial light is difficult for our cells to understand, and therefore there is turmoil that gets induced as we go through it. But if you wind down, all of that is taken care of. If you wind down by dimming the light and then just simply working with candlelight, if you are indeed able to have candlelight before you sleep, that's great. Have the very tiny night light in your bathrooms or even in your bedroom in case you need light to be walking around. And light is a destroyer, just organs are synchronized. They don't differentiate between sunlight and other lights. The fourth destroyer is the electromagnetic resonance. Because of our artificial light has got such strong, it gets you out of balance when it comes to the electromagnetic resonance of our human body, that there is the vibe of conflict. It has an impact on how our cells vibrate. We have 124 trillion of them being impacted and how they vibrate with this electromagnetic resonance being off kilter. So how do you bring it all together? By earthing. Earthing is the way of doing that. So if you can find a way of having at least 20 minutes with your feet on the ground, earthed, that's all it takes. Doesn't require any more than that. If you can get the earthing mat to sleep on at night, and in the US, it's quite easy to get that, and it is brilliant. That's perfect. If you have a magnetic mattress, that also helps earthing. There are many ways in which you can do this. Before we used to say turn off your routers, but now you can turn off your routers, but there's so many people around who have such strong routers, it makes no difference whatsoever. So turning off the routers has gone out of the window. Find other ways in which you can earth yourself. The meditation that I do, where I connect the base of your spine, the middle of your feet to the core of the earth. And when you're sitting on the bed, you just have your base of your spine connected to the core of the earth. And you just go section by section by section, releasing any excess energy buildup, releasing any electromagnetic imbalance into the earth. That also helps. There are times where I'm flying, and I have a long haul flight. I don't have any of these gadgets or devices. I usually, when I'm flying, I have the Nikken magnetic insoles in my shoes. That helps to get that electromagnetic resonance and rhythm back. I can talk much more about this, but the other piece that helps you earth is eating salads, eating fruits even, because they are from the earth. Root vegetables help earthing. Very important to have organic root vegetables. Root vegetables, particularly, a lot of the nutrients lie just under the skin of the root vegetable. And if it is not organic, you do have to take the skin off. And it's not, so then you're doing away with a lot of nutrition. So just be watchful about that. And again, if you don't have a choice, which I don't usually have that choice when I'm flying, I tend to not eat. But there are times where if it's a long haul flight, I've learned this recently, if it's a long haul flight, it is important for me to have some food in my belly because that's a part of that earthing.
Mynoo,
I'm just going to bring you in, Dea. So these are the 4 destroyers, but I'll bring you in, Dea, and you can bring it all together for us.
oh, there were a couple little quick questions. There was a question from Samantha. Do you have any ideas if we're staying places where it's very hard to make the room dark? Like, would you wear an eye mask? Would that work?
The eye mask helps, but remember our skin is an organ of absorption, and you do have a third eye here, so eye mask certainly helps because you're not getting the light in through your eyes, but the rest of your skin and everything is still exposed to light. So, like what I tend to do is I used to find it claustrophobic before, but I've learned to cover myself up fully with the quilt or the blanket. So my skin and everything is fully covered. Because I stay in all sorts of places where there's too much light sometimes. But eye mask.
Yeah. And then there was another comment that's just something, the electromagnetic energy really does impact your nervous system. David was bringing that up. So that affects your sleep, obviously.
It's that edginess. It keeps you edgy.
Yeah.
Just allowing that to go into the earth. So as a minimum, you will do the meditation if you can't do anything else. And if you have a way in which you can cover yourself up fully, then use that. Eye mask is brilliant if you have access to that. And the most importantly, See if you can turn off the light. Over to you, dear.
Wow. Simply brilliant, Mynoo. It was so good. So I'll just recap the 4 key destroyers of sleep. Really our eating habits, taking a look at our eating habits and making sure what you eat, how you eat, and when you eat. So a real awareness around that can help destroy any kind of effect it might have on your sleep. And the second one was your thoughts, those thoughts that you have, unsaid emotions, people that you're thinking about, all of that. The third is light. We want to make sure we're in rhythm with the light when we sleep, and also very aware of making sure the lights are brought down while we're sleeping so we can relax more into the cycle of sleep. And the fourth, electromagnetic resonance. So anything, really earthing ourselves and grounding ourselves while we're sleeping, before we sleep. So thank you, Mynoo. That was just delightful. It was really great. And I'm sure everyone enjoyed it as I did. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Namaste.
Everyone. Good night. Good morning. Good night.
Morning, yes.
Thank you, guys. Good morning. Thank you,
Thank
Mynoo.
you. Yeah, thank you, Mynoo.
Bye-bye.
Namaste. Big hug.